Sydney McLaughlin Levrone's shocking decision. Why she gave up her gold medal to face her inner demons. How many times can you break a world record? Sydney McLaughlin Levrone did it 6 times in a span of about 3.5 years had she been going to the Tokyo Olympic Championships as a 400m hurdler. There's no doubt a gold medal might have been guaranteed. But no, 400m is where she wants to test herself. I felt like this year I wanted to step out of the box and really push myself in a different way. And that's where the story unfolds. The American only ran 400m in the 2023 season, looking to go to the Budapest World Championships as a 400m runner, though the knee injury had her sitting out. McLaughlin Levrone was undefeated in all her 400m races that season except one when Lady Paulino and Sydney McLaughlin Levrone came face to face. And that race is something Sydney would love to avenge in Tokyo. June 9, 2023. Paris Diamond League. The 400-meter world champion lined up alongside the 400 Olympic gold medalist. Sydney shot out of her block quickly from lane, taking the lead ahead of Polio in lane 5 on the very first curve. And as the commentator summed it up, a very aggressive first 100m. For the first 300m, no one could touch Sydney. But in the 400m, a great start does not always guarantee a win. The last curve and the straight was still to go. Is Paulino coming back at her? Wondered the commentator as the Dominican accelerated. As for Levrone, it looks like Levrone went too quickly. McLaughlin has been reeled in hay. She's paid for that aggression. The commentator summed it up 41 seconds into the race and Paulino overtook the American and still kept accelerating. It wasn't even competitive anymore. Lady Paulino 49.12 defeated Sydney McLaughlin Levrone 49.71 in a 400m season debut by 59 hundredths of a second. But the story continued. Despite this, Levrone is going to the 400m, taking up the challenge to defeat the woman who has outrun her before. Moreover, Sydney's PB in 400m is 48.74, clocked in the U.S. trials in 2023, while Paulino's PB is 48.17, winning gold in Paris last year. It's going to be a tough battle for the Americans, but the Dominican is not her only worry. Sydney McLaughlin Levrone's troubles in the Tokyo World Championship. To start with, as a track and field coach, Rob summed up in his video, Sydney McLaughlin Levrone has really not run a competitive race this year in the Open 400. This means there was almost no competitiveness on the track. Every time she has stepped foot in the 400m race this season, the Olympian has not lost one, and in many of them, she has won by more than a second. At the Kingston Slam on April 6, 2025, she claimed first place in 50.32 seconds, win margin about 1.77 seconds over dealer Mohammed 54.59. But this would not be the case in World Championships. Well, at the Worlds, we might see her break Sonia Richards' American record of 48.70. But to win the gold, even the silver, would require something more than that. The flat 400m has specialists who have refined the distance for years. For instance, Solwa Nusa has shown her form just before the Tokyo World Championships. In the Diamond League final, she clocked a time of 48.70 for the win. Not only is this the same as the American record, but also a time Sydney has not yet recorded on the clock. In the 400m, not to forget the 48.67 Nusa clocked in Kingston GST. But if Sydney McLaughlin of Levrone has taken the challenge, then she might have thought all these through. Maybe she is saving something special for the Worlds. So, till that happens, would you join us in predicting the 400m podium for the World Champions in the comments? The stadium was roaring, the lights beaming down on the oval as though they themselves were witnesses to history. Sydney McLaughlin Levrone had just crossed the finish line at another championship, and the time on. The board screamed one thing: gold. The medal was hers. Yet something in her eyes said otherwise. For perhaps the first time in her decorated career, victory felt heavy rather than liberating. And in a move that stunned the sporting world, Sydney did the unthinkable. She stepped away from a confirmed gold medal, choosing instead to face something even more difficult than her competitors, her own demons. The gold that wasn't enough. Sydney's story has always been framed in brilliance. From her high school dominance to rewriting the women's 400-meter hurdles record books, she has embodied athletic perfection. Fans and analysts alike predicted gold medals the way astronomers predict the sunrise. Inevitable, certain, unquestionable. But Sydney, at just 25, has learned that inevitability can be a cage. The gold medal she gave up wasn't about defeat in performance. By every metric, she earned it. But in her heart, the race represented something hollow. The cheers didn't echo as joy, but as pressure. The cameras didn't flash celebration, but expectation. And the metal itself, shining brilliantly on the podium, looked more like a mirror reflecting back the cracks in her soul. I realized, she confessed in a hushed interview afterward, that no medal could cure the battles I was fighting when no one was watching. Beyond the track, to understand her decision, one must look beyond the spikes and the hurdles. For years, Sydney has been open about the weight of mental health, faith, and the balance between external glory and internal peace. On the outside, she is the flawless hurdler, sprinting with grace and shattering times that once seemed untouchable. On the inside, she is a young woman navigating the suffocating expectations of perfection. Every lap around the track carried not only her physical effort, but also the baggage of a world that demanded consistency at the cost of humanity. She was no longer just running against rivals. She was running against the ghosts of her past mistakes, the whispers of critics, and the knowing fear that if she slowed down, the world would abandon her. When she chose to surrender her confirmed metal, it wasn't defeat. It was declaration that her healing mattered more than hardware. The demons she faces, Sydney's demons, aren't unique, but they are amplified by her status, doubt, anxiety, the relentless chase for validation. These are shadows that trail many athletes. Yet, in Sydney's case, ignore spotlight. Each false start in life, each stumble, each sleepless night, became hurdles as daunting as the ones she cleared at breathtaking speed on the track. There were the critics who said she won too easily, as though dominance should rob her of pride. There were the comparisons to legends who came before her, as if she could never be allowed to stand on her own terms. And there were personal struggles, the kind whispered in quiet prayers away from the cameras, where Sydney admitted that strength isn't always the absence of weakness. It's the willingness to confront it. Courage redefined. In the sports world, courage is often measured by the willingness to dive for the finish line, to push through pain, to outlast opponents. But Sydney is redefining courage. Her boldest act was not breaking a world record or crossing the finish line ahead of the field. It was stepping back from glory and telling the truth. I need to heal. That truth has rippled across the track and field community, sparking conversations about the price athletes pay for excellence. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time.